So, I'm a little surprised no one else has made a video like I'm about to make. Now, you're gonna see that I've taken a couple of clips from Darius M's channel because this jerk-off seems to absolutely refuse to post the source or the original link to the clips that he takes, which kind of now makes me wonder why he watermarks content that doesn't technically belong to him, but I digress. So, you'll notice that Darius M, if you've seen his channel from time to time in your recommended feed, would like to take clips from TikTok, which perhaps may have been sent to him, or maybe he's looking for, or they just appear on his For You page, I don't really know. But he'll take these clips and then he'll usually put them at the beginning of his video, and then they will be the jump off point to any commentary he's about to make. What I find interesting about it all, though, is as much as I've seen this type of like TikTok response video thing, I've also seen not just Darius M do it, but a couple of other people too. No one's ever seemed to just like compile like a compilation of just like women's experience with Chad. And I find it interesting. Like, I mean, like, I've seen lots of incels kind of like, talk about Chad. I've seen them do their Chad experiments, just kind of showing how, honestly, when you're an attractive individual, dating is hilariously easy. I've seen them go even as far as, like, statistically showing the differences between, like, what kind of Chad will get better results than the other. And then I've seen them statistically go as far as to show us, like, what kind of matches, like, or what the match rate of, like, being a male on Tinder is versus being, like, an ugly woman on Tinder. And it's actually rather fascinating. I think the match rate for attractive model tier males is like all of 22%, right? Which is actually still pretty high when you consider that the average male's match rate is probably like 1 to 2%, if that, if they're not robots. But one thing that I've always thought was a hilarious goldmine of comedy, at least to me, I take a huge sense of humor with this type of stuff, is women complaining after their close encounters with the Chad kind. I mean, you see a lot of people oversharing on TikTok quite a bit, and this is really not any exception. But it is particularly interesting to me that these women overshare as much as they do without any real critical evaluation of what they're doing. They're kind of treating it like their online diary. I think that there might just kind of be some type of compulsion from females that makes them like want to express themselves so much, even if what they're expressing is gonna be put under a lot of scrutiny and criticized. But I digress. It just seems like it just is something that they like doing. They used to just do it with their diaries and their journals, but now they do it on TikTok and sometimes on YouTube. And I don't really think that it's a really good thing to do, because you have niggas like me who are about to roast the hell out of them. So anyway, but I actually want to roast them with a point. So let's actually look at women's experiences with Chad, because honestly, one criticism that women have about men kind of all makes sense the moment you recognize that what they're actually saying is, all the men that I want, you guys suck and are terrible. But we'll table that discussion for another time. In fact, again, let's look at this montage, and I'm just gonna show you guys how these women react after dealing with this.
I'm honestly not even embarrassed that I look like this or that I'm doing this right now, or if it makes me look crazy, whatever. I don't give a fuck anymore, honestly. Do not date a woman for 3 months, and I use that term loosely, date, because he never took me on a date or even planned one in the house. Mr. Anxiety. Do not date a woman for 3 months, fuck her, lead her to believe you want a relationship, literally spend a whole entire week with her, and then ghost her for 4 days and dump her, and then tell her it's just because you don't have romantic feelings for her. Why? What the fuck?
I just kept breaking until there was nothing left to break. And then I just felt nothing. There's something about being the almost girl that breaks something inside of you in a way that I haven't really been able to find to describe correctly up to this point. You were almost the one. You were almost it. You were almost my person. The problem with narcissistic, attractive men is that they have always got the women that they've tried to get. And so they see women as disposable. But I can promise you, not all of us are replaceable. I try to look at myself, like really look at myself, and it's like I'm staring straight through myself to the wall behind me. I saw nothing, I felt nothing, and that's been one of the saddest parts of this for me. And the hardest part is that I am so disconnected between what's happening in my mind, my heart, to what's happening around me, that I feel like I am merely a body existing.
Just a little bit of real talk for a minute. If you're gonna talk to a single mom or date a single mom, I hope that you have real intentions with that person. Because when we get heartbroken, we don't just get to choose to come home and be alone. We have to smile when it's time to pick the kids up from school. And we have to put them to bed, and we have to be happy mom. And when y'all come into our lives, playing games or messing with us, it makes our lives 100 times harder. Don't mess with single moms.
Alright, well, since no one wants to go on a date with me in my area, I am driving 3 hours to go on a date. Super nervous, super excited. We'll see how it goes.
A few moments later.
So, I just drove 3 hours, and now this guy isn't responding. 3 hours to go on a date, to get stood up. This is why I don't date. Fuck this. Fuck this.
Hey, I genuinely feel like a lost cause at this point because I keep going on dates with guys and there will be nothing wrong with them necessarily. They'll be nice, we'll have good conversation, but there's nothing there. I have no interest in wanting to really see them again. There's no spark. Like, does anybody relate to this? Like, I genuinely don't feel any sort of wow with anybody ever. And I don't know, I feel broken.
You know, the hardest part about dating is that the people that you like don't like you like that. And the people that like you don't like them like that. And I just feel like I am never gonna find the person that loves me the way that I love them. It feels like it's a fairy tale that never exists. And I don't know, maybe I'm just having a hard night, but that's where I'm at.
Now, of course, one thing that you'll notice is that young ladies don't particularly say that, you know, what they encountered was a Chad. Like, they don't particularly say that, oh no, Chad done broke my heart. Oh, Chad hurt me. Like, they don't say that. But I mean, we all know. I mean, Chad really more than anything just is a funny way to say an attractive white male. Tyrone, attractive black male, and then there's like other pejoratives. I wouldn't call them pejoratives, but like other like, you know, catch-alls for attractive men. So basically, attractive men from women's point of view is an incredibly rare specimen, even from them. I've talked to women a lot, and one of the most interesting things I find is most women don't necessarily think that most men are ugly, but most men are they won't put it this way, but I'll put it this way, null and void. Like, it's not that they don't exist, they're not in any consideration. So they kind of just take space and an environment, but they're not like, women don't care. And now women, some, you know, to qualify, will absolutely use those men to verify that they're attractive to some degree. Like, a lot of women have no issue with the utilization of men as objects and things to be used. In fact, unfortunately, kind of living in a materialistic society kind of makes everyone really comfortable with that reality, including men with women. I think feminists actually have always had a really good point when they talk about sexual objectification. It's just that the problem is they kind of are myopic about it and only talk about how it affects women and never talk about the objectification of men, but I digress. The point is, we are all objectified and kind of utilized. For young ladies, on the other hand, when it comes to males and dealing with like attractive males are kind of like the only thing that they see, or the only thing that they consider. Now, the interesting thing that I've noticed about women is they don't really recognize just how small of a margin their sexual attraction is, or how narrow their sexual attraction is. It's kind of befuddling to me just how much women lack in self-awareness in regards to lots of things, but this thing in particular. I remember I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was talking about her now ex-boyfriend, because he broke up with her. And she was talking about how he wasn't her type, and that he wasn't really all that attractive. Well, she said she found him really attractive, but she didn't think that he was conventionally attractive. And I said, all right, well, show me a picture. And she showed me a picture, and I was like, it was hilarious, because she said that she's like, well, I find him attractive, but I don't think he's good. And then I look at him and I'm like, this nigga's Chad. Like, I'm like, this guy's pretty handsome. Like, I don't know what you're talking. I was like, nigga. I just couldn't believe it. It's like they really think, and she's a good friend of mine, so I don't want to roast her too much, but like a lot of ladies, they don't really think about just like how narrow what they want really is, or how the type of men that they want. And the thing that's interesting about women is, even if it isn't so much, women mostly want conventionally attractive people. And by conventionally attractive, I actually think a good working definition for that is someone that's kind of universally considered to be attractive. As in, there might be outliers of people who say they don't like it, but generally speaking, the consensus is the person looks good. I think that's a good definition for conventionally attractive. I've seen people use the term, never define it, so I'm going to define it like I just did. And so the thing is, like, it's not so much that women only want conventionally attractive, universally decided men. Women kind of just want what they want. So what they want may particularly be that, but there are girls that like skinny, androgynous, feminine-looking boys. Like, you can see on TikTok, there's a good amount of that, of girls kind of creaming their pants over, like, BTS, the Korean androgynous, feminine-looking skinny men. They don't look like they could survive a gust of wind, let alone protect them should something bad happen to them. So that kind of whole like women want protector males thing kind of does get thrown into question about that, right? It's an interesting discussion there, but whatever the woman wants, like you've got the scene kids, the gothic kids, the emo kids, and then they want the dudes that paint their fingernails black and are all drewy and wear the chains, and they look like they came fresh out of Kingdom Hearts or some nonsense like that. But the heart wants what it wants, and so women are just really, really picky and narrow about whatever they want. So like whatever they want is what they want. That's just kind of how they operate, is what I've noticed, So it isn't particularly that every woman desires Chad. It just seems particularly that every woman is very narrow with what they want. I haven't seen very many women who have a wide, general, like, you could say, like, I guess you could say variety of men they've dated. I guess if men like variety, women like specificity. Kind of seems what they want. So a woman will like have a chain of just the same type of dude in the same type of environment or same type of industry, or just literally this all kind of look the same, if not similarly. That's how they operate, right? Now the thing is, what's interesting about this, we're coming off of a discussion about the 80-20 rule, right? And so what you'll notice is that there's a huge funnel up in society, and women's close encounters with the chat kind damages them quite a bit, as you guys saw in the montage. You have these women sitting here crying about dealing with these men that mistreated them, and on the one hand, I still have a heart, right? Like, I still have empathy just for people in general. Blame the Christian in me, right? It's too bad. I care too much about people, right? But I still, on the one hand, I understand that feeling a lot better than they probably do, honestly, of being picked over, of being disregarded, of being ignored, of not being accepted, or of being, blocked over some goofy nonsense that was actually probably really trivial. Happens to me quite a bit. I get that. And so I do have empathy on that one side. But on the other hand, I'm sitting here like, really, nigga? You didn't? Really, nigga? Really? You didn't expect that? You didn't expect that the individual of whom you never considered their moral character from, you never thought critically about, you never vetted as a person who could be a father to your children, he mistreated you? No. What? He only had sex with you and left? What? Oh, baby, no. What? He only wanted to have sex with you, baby? Oh, baby, I'm so sorry. Like, come on. Like, really, nigga? Like, Now, here's the allure. There's lots of different, I'm going to be honest, fluff when it comes to the red pill and the black pill about genetic determinism and game and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And if you come to this channel, you come to me to hear me say in a really long-winded fashion just how things are. And here's just how things are. Women just like feeling special. Now, the reason why women want to funnel up and be the one woman that gets selected by Chad is because they like feeling special. Because women, for the most part, understand the deep, cold, hard reality. They're not special. And so they crave trying to be special. In fact, I'll give you a good example of what happens when you tell women that they're not special. There you go.
About girls like me.
Just
Humor
women
me.
in general. Like, I mean,
well, no, don't women in general, because you literally specifically said before we got on here
This was an off-camera conversation.
that you did say that
That's true.
you warn guys about girls like me. So now that we're face to face, what kind of girl am I?
You're not special. You're like other girls. That's the key.
I'm not special.
Like,
So-
you're like other women that are
So
like...
what makes you special then? So there's really a lot to unpack here, because my first question to you is, what do you gain from telling girls that they're not special? How does that make you feel? I mean, I know everything is a joke, but I'm asking you a real question. So how does that make you feel? Because if I say you're a bitch ass nigga, that does something for me, right? If I insult you, or if I tell you you're not special, you're forgettable, what does that do for me? No, but that doesn't. But that's what I'm saying. No, but I'm saying, what if I call you? If I just say that again, you're forgettable. That's why I didn't want to do you guys' podcast. Forgettable. Hate the setup. The name is underwhelming. I didn't really see the value in it. Right? That's how I feel. Right. But so that's fine. But for me, that's okay if it wasn't a fit for me. But I also don't need to, you know, in a way kind of try to devalue what you guys have going on, because
Now, actually, here's the truth of the matter. I like Brittany Renner a lot, because Brittany Renner is a fantastic example of the mentality of insecure modern women. In fact, people keep saying I make too many videos about Brittany Renner, and I just have to tell them, I don't make enough videos about Brittany Renner. But I just kind of wanted to show you guys just like a huge insecurity that exists in Brittany. You know, this whole video isn't about her at all. It's just a great example of such. And you can see that the reason why a lot of women really want this stuff, not bare none just because they are legitimately attracted to this, but also is because they want to be this special woman that's able to tame or master Chad. It's kind of in the same way that, like, they want to catch Moltres. They want to catch Mewtwo. They want the super ultimate mega male to only want them, because that would verify that they're special and different from other women, when in reality, they're not. And instead of coming to terms with the fact that they don't need to be special, they don't really need to be different from other women, they fight and clamor and claw and scratch at each other and get ran through by Chad. Now, here's the thing that I find should be interesting to all of us as young men. And that is, Chad's kind of an asshole, isn't he? He's kind of a crappy person. I mean, what kind of person disregards individuals and uses them and then just allows them to be miserable and hurt just because they wanted to get their sexual members wet and pleasured? Not a particularly good person. And you'll notice that when it really comes down to, when it comes to like dating and trying to have good relationships, virtue, character, actually being a good person really doesn't matter all that much. At least not so much in our generation. And by our generation, I mean individuals that are probably between the ages of like 18 to about 35. That's the age bracket or range I like to use, because we all kind of grew up relatively. Although kids who are about, 18 coming up behind us actually have experienced a little bit of a different thing, but I digress. They're not adults, and honestly probably shouldn't be having sexual relationships if we're all going to be honest with ourselves. tabling that discussion like we always do, let's get back on track. Back on track is people in our generation are really, really status and looks obsessed and money obsessed, and are really stuck on materialism and using people like objects. And this really here is no exception. Like, the truth of the matter is, we can't really, or we probably shouldn't be really sad for these women because they got used by Chad. Like, honestly, one, it really doesn't have anything to do with us as young men, and two, well, I'm just gonna be really, really salty. Any one of those women could have had men that would have loved them to the day they died. They just didn't want them. In fact, one of the clips I showed you guys earlier was a woman who was over here crying about the fact that the men that she want to want her, but the guys that want her, she don't want them, and oh, it's just so sad. And it's like, shut up, shut up, shut up. Like, seriously, here's the thing. Why don't you want those guys? Is it because they're not Is it because they lack Is it because they're really Come on, like, the reason why a lot of ladies don't want the dudes they're with is because they're not attracted to them. And one of the biggest ironies, one of the greatest ironies I think that comes in our modern society and the way women relate to young men is the fact that while they simultaneously complain about the fact that we men are so incredibly shallow and are only concerned about the way they look, the only thing they really mostly care about is the way the men look. And to be fair, that does kind of make a lot of sense now, doesn't it? I mean, think about it for a second. You really think individuals that spend literally hours on end painting their faces and wearing waist trainers and trying to lose weight and trying to get clothes that look flattering and trying so hard to look really good and put so much effort in their appearance wouldn't also be really shallow, considering the opposite sex that they're not actually really concerned with emotionally and mentally? Probably freaking not. I mean, if women are so harshly scrutinizing on themselves and don't care about their character, well, how can you really expect them to care about yours? Well, you really can't. And that's kind of a really big problem in general. A really big problem that we're having is we're not really treating people like people. What's hilarious to me is the fact that these young ladies will then get on TikTok, never considering the fact that they never treated all the other men that would have loved them like people, crying about the fact that Super Chad, or maybe just regular Chad, doesn't treat them like people, and how they disregard them, and how they break up with them, and how they don't care, and blah, 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 blah. Now here's the interesting thing. A lot of people will probably say that I'm salty, which is part of the reason why I don't particularly talk too much about my personal experiences, because then people are just going to be like, your feelings are hurt, and that's why you feel that way. And the truth of the matter is, I have been salty in my life. I mean, I can't sit here and deny I haven't gone through phases where I've been salty about the fact that a girl picked some dude over me. But the truth of the matter is, I actually am not making this video out of salt, because honestly, I don't care. And I know it sucks, but I don't care that these women are crying over Chad. The real problem that I have, and this was actually reinforced as my days of being a substitute teacher, the real problem that I have is that these women get to be mothers to the next generation. And rather than reevaluating their behaviors to make sure their daughters don't deal with the same nonsense they're dealing with, they're on TikTok crying about it. Instead of thinking critically about why they end up getting what they get and trying to be better human beings for the little person that they have to take care of, they're on TikTok crying. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you, it is so equal parts hilarious and bloody pathetic that these adult women that we're supposed to consider our equals are on TikTok crying about the men they picked. And to be fair, should these men mistreat them? No. The answer is no. The honest answer really is no, guys. Look, guys, I understand that we're supposed to be misogynistic and not like women and not care, but guys, the answer is no. The truth of the matter is, men probably, Chad, Tyrone, high value men, legitimately, probably, let's be real, should not mistreat women. They shouldn't. The truth of the matter is, when you're in such a high state in society, I honestly don't really understand why you would want to be like that unless you just lack morality and you're just not a good person. Because as it really turns out, most of these men aren't good people. In fact, most people that spend a lot of time trying to get large amounts of social status, most of them aren't good people. You guys ever notice that? You guys ever notice that there's a huge track record of like most people in higher echelons of society are really crappy human beings? You guys notice that? Because I noticed that. Seems like all the women that want these high value men don't notice that. Because, well, honor, virtue, compassion, personality doesn't really mean anything when you're materialistic. And what this all kind of boils down to is a huge problem of materialism in these women. And so the truth of the matter is, none of us should really feel bad for these women because they got what they asked for. They wanted Chad. They sought lust. They wanted to feel good. They wanted to feel special. What they didn't recognize was, of course, that like when you're in the running with hundreds of other women and in reality, nothing about you really is particularly special. I mean, because the only thing you really came with is a pretty face and some wop. You can't really deviate yourself, and you can't really make someone that's treating you like a Pokemon card treat you like a human being. You really can't do anything to convince a man that doesn't value women to value women. And you also have to recognize, young ladies, that some of you probably spend a huge amount of your time creating the very men who then use and abuse you later. I know a lot of you ladies probably don't think too hard about all of those different dweebs you left behind in high school, but some of them then reinvent themselves and become high-value men who gets lots of money. And due to the fact that they are enraged by the fact that they got mistreated by women in the past, without ever addressing or dealing with that rage and frustration, they now come to you. And I'm going to be honest, you don't deserve that. You don't. You shouldn't pay for the mistakes that other women have made. You shouldn't be used and discarded because other women mistreated those guys in the past. That's true. However, you still would have avoided all of this if you had taken moral consideration into consideration. And one of the biggest problems here, and women's grand pursuit of Chad, is not so much that, well, the incels all end up losing out, although I do think that crafting a society filled with men that are not invested in their society is an absolutely terrible thing. The truth of the matter is, these women are all shallow. Like, I mean, they can sit here and cry about the fact that they're so good and they're so wonderful and it sucks that Chad mistreated them, but in reality, they're all equally as shallow. Because the truth of the matter is, if they really, really cared about men treating them well, they would just be with men that treated them well. But they all love to say that they just can't be with men they're not attracted to. They just can't do it. It's just too hard. It's blah, 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 blah. And then when you find out that the truth of the matter is, most of the time, the men they're not attracted to are just normal people. Which, honestly, I do think it would open the door to a really good conversation as to why average just seems to not be good enough for a lot of these young ladies, but that would take a really long time and we're about the end of this video. So let's summarize with this. The truth of the matter is, it does suck for any person to be mistreated by anybody. While I understand that this is certainly a mechanization of their own making, this is something that they all did to themselves, we probably still shouldn't be okay with the fact that women end up getting mistreated. In the same way that none of us are okay with the fact that young men get mistreated by women. The truth of the matter is, nobody should be getting treated like garbage by individuals that they're having sex with. Think about it for a second. Let's be fair, guys. Men, women, we're supposed to combine our lives with each other and spend a lot of time with one another and have children? Does it really make sense to harbor such anger and disdain for someone you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with? Yeah, probably friggin' not. And the truth of the matter is, we should all be striving to try to figure out a way for us to like each other more than we're trying to figure out ways to use each other and avoid getting used by each other. I think that is probably where a lot of these conversations should go, but never do go. Because women seem to not grasp the fact that when you live by the Chad, you die by the Chad. And until they figure that shit out, it's going to be hard to get things set back right. So hopefully this video is a good first step for you guys. So that being said, I actually hope you guys got something out of today's video. I highly doubt that you did, but if you did, you know, go ahead and click the like button. Shoot, go and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. As always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.